The story begins in heaven where all the gods were celebrating. Suddenly, a deity arrived who never wore anything on his feet. Seeing him, the other gods didn't feel good because they thought he would spoil the festive atmosphere, but the Queen of Heaven didn't think so at all. She welcomed the deity warmly and called him by the name Li. After all the guests arrived, the queen recited a poem she had written. Suddenly, a demon attacked and disrupted the mood. The other gods immediately stepped forward to protect the queen, but soon their powers weakened in front of the demons. In reality, the demon came to show the queen that he had the most power, so he also deserved the right to stay in heaven. But suddenly, Li attacked him, with his weapon named Rui hitting him on the face. This caused the demon to collapse right there. Seeing this, the queen revealed that the attack was actually her plan, and she wanted to see who among them could effectively use their intelligence and strength under pressure. Then, the queen praised Li greatly because he didn't panic when the attack happened, but fought bravely until the end, defeating the demon. Pleased, the queen gave him a gift and the celebration resumed. Eventually, when the celebration ended, Li felt somewhat different. He took out his Rui weapon again to protect himself in case of another attack. But due to his carelessness, the Rui slipped from his hand and fell to the earth. Upon seeing this, Li became extremely worried because according to the laws of heaven, none of them were permitted to go to earth. Although he could face severe punishment for this, he still descended to earth. Upon reaching the ground, he encountered a girl named Pian, who was stuck on a tree branch. Li helped her come down, and then Pian thanked him. Afterward, Li explained that he was a deity who had descended from heaven and his weapon had fallen to earth. Now, Pian took Li to her village chief so that he could assist Li. When they both reached the village, suddenly, some demons attacked the village because they wanted to steal their precious treasure. This treasure was actually a magical item. Now, Li didn't back down and faced all the demons bravely. Eventually, he defeated a demon spider by trapping it in its own web. After this, Li defeated a very powerful demon whose body emitted an unbearable odor. Finally, the village chief and the other villagers welcomed Li warmly and even threw a special party for him. Eventually, when Li asked the chief about their treasure, he explained that a few months ago, a golden light fell straight onto a mountain from the sky. Since then, peace spread across the village, and they all decided to protect this treasure together. The treasure was in a cave at the top of the mountain, where the villagers had set various traps to prevent the demons from stealing it. Hearing this, Li became convinced that they were talking about his divine weapon, Rui. He told the chief that this treasure belonged to him and he had come to retrieve it. Hearing this, everyone was taken aback, but the chief said, "Brother, if it's yours, you'll get it back." However, the truth was that the chief had no intention of returning the treasure. Instead, he captured Li and bound him with chains. Li tried to escape, but he had been given a special kind of drink that weakens the powers of both gods and demons. Afterward, the villagers started a ritual to strike lightning upon Li, but suddenly, fire fell from the sky, causing many houses to catch fire. Everyone rushed to extinguish the fire, and then Pian approached Li and said that if he would protect her village from the demons, she could help him find the treasure. Li immediately agreed, and Pian unlocked his chains. Afterwards, they both headed towards the mountain where the treasure was hidden. Some villagers chased after them, but when they saw Li on the mountain path, they were pleased because they believed he couldn't escape the traps there. When Li reached the mountain, he used his powers to locate the invisible traps. But suddenly his foot got stuck in the quicksand and then Pian saved his life. Now they were tired of walking, so they started resting by the riverside. Pian asked him why he didn't wear shoes. Then Li explained that in his past life, he was a human with unusually large feet, which made people treat him badly. But one day, a girl named Chao came to him and became his friend. One day while playing with Chao, she suddenly fell very ill. Then her parents blamed Li for all of this and separated Chao from him. A few days later, Li was making a toy for Chao when suddenly he felt that an earthquake was about to hit the village. He immediately went to Chao's house and started running with her. But suddenly the villagers caught him because they thought Li had kidnapped Chao. They all beat Li so severely that he died right there. Eventually, Li reached heaven where the Queen of Heaven was extremely pleased to see his goodness. Then, she adjusted the size of Li's feet to that of a normal human and made him a deity. Even after becoming a deity, Li still didn't wear shoes because he had grown accustomed to being barefoot. Pian listened to Li's story and continued with him. Finally, they reached the cave where many traps were set up. With Li's powers, they easily bypassed all the traps and reached a bridge where the treasure was hidden. As soon as Li stepped on the bridge, suddenly a strong push hit hit his body. In fact, this bridge was enchanted with magical bells, which meant neither the deities nor the demons could cross it. Then, Pian stepped forward and removed all the bells tied to the bridge so that Lee could move forward. Suddenly, her foot slipped because the bridge was very dangerous, but she gathered courage and climbed up. Eventually, Lee also crossed the bridge easily, and they moved forward. Soon, Lee and Pian found an object emitting a golden light, and Lee became convinced that it was his weapon, Ruyi. But when the light disappeared, Lee saw that it was not Ruyi but a golden egg. Suddenly, some demons also arrived there because they also wanted to steal Lee's weapon. Now, this egg was of no use to Lee, so he gave it to the demons and they all ran away. Seeing this, Pian became very angry because this treasure was very valuable to her village. She asked Lee for help in returning the treasure to the cave, but Lee did not listen to her and left her alone to fight the demons. The next day, as soon as Lee arrived in the villagers immediately captured him. The village chief wanted to strike him with lightning again after the worship. Eventually, after several attempts, the lightning struck Lee, but he remained unharmed because he was immortal. Seeing this, everyone believed that Lee was indeed a deity, and they all bowed before him. However, an old woman spoke up, saying that this man is not worthy of respect because he had left the villagers to die at the hands of demons in his pursuit of his weapon. Hearing this, Lee remembered Pian, who had stayed alone on the mountain to retrieve the treasure from the demons. On the other side, all the demons were perplexed and troubled by the golden egg. Eventually, they ordered the rooster demon to sit on the egg so that whatever was inside, it could be extracted. At the same time, Pian herself, disguised as a cat demon, arrived at the demon's lair and cunningly fooled them into giving her the egg. But as soon as she took the egg and started to flee, the demons realized that Pian was a human. They immediately attacked Pian, and she was on the brink of death when Lee arrived there and saved her. Lee fought fiercely against all the demons, and eventually, they both returned to the village with the treasure. Upon seeing them, all the villagers were extremely happy because the treasure was safe. After this, they began a ritual to open the egg, and as soon as it cracked open, suddenly, a demon named King Niao emerged from it. He was the same demon whom Lee had defeated at the party in heaven. Niao explained that he was a unique demon who lived in heaven and the other gods always troubled him. During the celebration, when he attacked them, he felt that all gods were the same, so he also attacked Lee. However, Lee defeated him with his weapon, Ruyi, causing Niao to fall straight to the earth and transform into a large golden egg. When the villagers found this egg, they thought it would protect their village, so they kept the golden egg safe. Anyway, now, when Niao attacked Lee and knocked him down, wreaking havoc on the rest of the villagers, Lee attempted to confront Niao again, but by the time he reached the ground, his powers had diminished. Niao was about to kill Lee when suddenly Pian intervened and took the blow upon herself. Lee didn't realize that Pian could sacrifice her life for him. As Pian was counting her last breaths, Lee noticed a mark on her forehead shaped like Ruyi. Then Lee realized that Pian was the embodiment of his weapon Ruyi, which he had been searching for all along. In reality, after Lee's death in his previous life, Chao grew up, but her illness was fatal, and she eventually passed away. She had spent her entire life in devotion to God, so the Queen of Heaven, pleased with her, asked her what she would like to become in the next life. Chao said she would accept anything as long as she could always be with Lee. However, since the queen had already made Lee a deity, she transformed Chao into Lee's most powerful weapon, Ruyi. Eventually, after Pian's death, she transformed into Ruyi again, so that Lee could confront Niao. After a fierce battle between the two, Lee emerged victorious with Ruyi's strike. Soon after, the Queen of Heaven arrived with the other deities, prepared to punish Lee for descending to Earth without her permission. However, all the villagers bowed before the queen and requested forgiveness for Lee because he had saved them from the terror of the demons. Upon hearing their pleas, the queen finally relented and forgave Lee. However, when the queen began to punish Niao, Lee requested that they grant Niao forgiveness and give him another chance to rectify his wrongs. Hearing this, the queen also pardoned Niao, and he took a deep breath of relief. Finally, Lee decided to stay in the same village for some time to ensure that no demon would attack them. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.